Alright guys, Bill, I'm here back with more Yakuza. I haven't played this in a while. I think it's been like 4 days or so. But also listen to RGP.
Like, of course, she has every right to be like, I don't
know
want
what we're doing. Oh, I started for the end of the last episode. I forgot about that. Yeah, I ended up getting interrupted, and then it ended up taking me like 25, 30 minutes to get what I thought would be done in like 5. So yeah, that's what happened last time.
I do 100% agree with that Christmas, that as far as like the game goes, if you take everything else that we know is coming later on in the day, if you take all of that out of it, Christmas is making a very valid point.
Oh,
like, this is your vendetta.
Wait, do I need?
Settle. I put the two of you on the block
okay,
for
I really need
reasons, which we'll get into later in the day. And I don't want to put my ally up, and I feel like this is a missed opportunity. For Bay and Day, I'm thinking it's a missed opportunity because I know things that they don't know as households. As far as the whole Danny situation goes, if they had more information when it comes to Tyler, I feel like they could have. That Devon and Bailey are smart enough players to be able to have been able to twist it and be like, well, clearly she's not going to put Tyler up. They had a whole 24 hours, a little more than 24 hours to figure this out. But if they would have thought, hey, well, clearly we're not going to get Tyler up, but there is a way that both of us can stay, and that's to get Danny up. But they would have to get Tyler out of that mindset sooner than he was out of that mindset, because they need Tyler in game mode in order for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what would have happened if, when Tyler approached Day and Bay about putting himself up, them saying, like, okay, if this is really your motivation to help us, then put your money where your mouth is, and let's go to Christmas and try to get her to put somebody else up, and let's try and make that move, and that we can all work together and get somebody else out of the house, and you can work with us to get to the end, because I don't know if it would have worked, but it might have. It kind of puts Tyler in a spot, right?
Yeah, it's definitely it's a Hail Mary move, but like you said, if your reason for doing this is what you say it is, then you will. This is what we think is going to be best for your reasoning to be valid. Then this is what you should do. This is how you can help us.
Yeah, I think part of this too.
Yeah,
now,
so I work late today.
Kind of,
9 till 4 or 5 today. Yeah, 5 today. So it's a bit late.
Leaving Bay and Day in the dark a little bit.
So
when Tyler went to Bay and Day the day before the day that we're talking about,
it's currently 11:30, I think. Yeah. So
he was saying that he was doing this because he wants them to get further. And
how much is it to fully stop?
Everything that he said about Danny was the truth. And he said, now, I'm not guilty, I'm not completely innocent in this situation, which is true. Like, this is exactly what it is.
I didn't realize these were so cheap.
Danny and Nicole were coming for Day and Bay before Tyler did anything. And Tyler just let Day and Bay know. Now, that doesn't mean that Tyler is completely innocent, because he also did say some things about Bailey. Those things were not the reason Bailey was targeted by Danny and Nicole, but he did say some things. So he's essentially saying, like, Danny was coming for you. I had nothing to do with that, or at least I was telling the truth about that, but I am not innocent in this situation. And I think part of it too is that Tyler wasn't sure. Tyler thought he might be a little bit responsible for Danny and Nicole coming after Day and Bay without realizing that they had been after them long before any of this happened. And so what Day and Bay get out of this conversation is, okay, so Tyler is the reason we're in this spot. They feel like, okay, Tyler wasn't lying about Danny, but he's the reason Danny was coming after us in the first place. That he was trying to self-sabotage, and he was just pitting people against each other, and he's the one that got us here, and that is leading them to not realize that Danny and Nicole were actually after them long before this, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I feel like Day and Bay. I can't blame Day and Bay for grabbing this horse by the reins and taking the hand that was dealt to them and running with it. I just wish that they would have asked for it to be dealt a different hand. Like, I don't know. I feel like they played this out the best way that they could with the information that they had. I just don't when we are on these podcasts.
So it is currently Tuesday after Labor Day.
Because we know things that they don't know. You know?
It's kind of weird because it's like I'm obviously doing 2 Let's Plays at once, but I did finish AC3, started Hitman, was initially going to cancel the playthrough, but I just had so much fun playing the game that I was like, screw it, let's just continue playing this, and instead of doing a straight up review of Hitman 1 and 2 that I was going to do, I think I'm going to do an episode ranking instead.
They really feel like they can trust Nicole and Danny because they feel like Nicole and Danny were tricked into coming after them. So that's kind of the takeaway that they got from that situation, and they felt like the reason Tyler was doing this was because he felt guilty for targeting them in the first place, which is unfortunately a bit of a misread on the situation. I think this might eventually get cleared up if they talk to Tyler a little bit more, but Tyler's like back in game mode, so it may not happen. But anyway, Day goes to Tyler and she says, "Hey, are you sure this is what you want to do? Like, are you sure about this?" And he says, "Yes, I'm not taking it back. I've done everything that I can short of, straight up just throwing in the towel, which, I can't do." And she's like, "I know, you can't do that." And so, at this point, we're like, okay.
At this point, I'm pretty solidified on, we're going to finish Yakuza 0, but after this, we're not going to move straight into Kiwami right away.
From Christmas, and ultimately, it seems this decision is going to come down to
like playing the Yakuza game. I'm playing like 2 games at once. Really just slows down the process I make on both games, and seeing there are some pretty big projects I need to get done for my other channel. I think it's and like this Yakuza series is more so just like a side sort of thing. Oh, so are we finally mixing 2 storylines?
I'm not backdooring anyone on my HOH. That Angela can get you, in a few months, and that's what's going down. And he's like, okay. And she tells him that he should not tell anybody what the plan is. They talk about like what should we say, and she tells him to just be like, I say that I didn't. Christmas loves this rule. I'm not allowed to say what I'm gonna do. I'm not allowed to say. So tell them that I didn't tell you. And he's like, okay. And then she proceeds to tell him about the All Women's Alliance that was created the night before, and a few other things that. Okay, now we're gonna get back into the swing of things here, Tyler. Here's some information.
Yeah, I think Christmas. Like I said, you have to give her props. She really made sure that not only was Tyler okay with. It doesn't matter if he was okay with it. She wasn't going to use it, but console him to let him know I'm not going to use it. You're staying in this game now.
So, we'll hold off on Kiwami for a little while. Not entirely sure when we'll get back to it, but
they make their plan for what they're going to say going forward.
I definitely want to at least finish the Far Cry series before going back to it.
Secret ally in this game. That is not going to be a secret going forward, but we'll talk about that.
Yes. So. I will give you my perspective just here on this Tyler situation. I fully believe, and I said this from the start, that he wanted to quit. We've seen that from him all season long, that he hasn't wanted to be here, that he didn't want to be here in the first place. He declined the invitation in the first place. I think that he genuinely wanted to quit. I think that he also took an opportunity to like maybe win some points
for
his quit with some other situations, to bring up that he's doing it for Bailey and Devon, to say that he doesn't want, that he wants to support their cause, he wants to help them get to the end. That, and we talked about this yesterday before he reneged on it, that is in my opinion where he goes wrong. Like, you can quit the game, and on a game level I won't respect you as a player, but you're just quitting the game. You're just quitting the game. Now I don't doubt that he on some level supports Day and Bay and would like to see them succeed, but you can't just make an empty gesture and get people's hopes up when that's not your true motivation, right? Go ahead.
Oh, so here's my thing. So there's a conversation that happens right before the POV meeting between Bailey, Devon, and Kevin in the love room, and they're trying to explain to Kevin the whole Tyler situation and all this stuff. And Devon makes it very clear that she said that she didn't believe a damn thing Tyler said. She thought it was all bullcrap, that he was blowing smoke up their butts until he said that line, that he was doing it for the movement. The Black Girl Magic, the Black Lives Matter, the whole black, fill in the other two blanks, whatever you want.
Just to quickly interject here, because there's been a lot of discussion on, did Tyler actually, bring up Black Lives Matter? He did not say those words, but he referenced the cause, the movement, what they stand for, and that is what they stand for. So he definitely implied it.
Yeah. So she clearly said that is when she was like, there's no way that this can be fake. Because once you say that, once you imply that, if it is fake, if that is game, then you are a sick, twisted MFer. And she was like, that's crazy to me. And I think that once you say that, you gotta start packing, because you have to leave. Like, once you say you have no choice. You got to go. Like, when you know that not only are they laughing, like, it's not like this is like Survivor where you can, just hope that the producers cut it out of the edit. No. Hundreds of millions of thousands of trillions, billions, quadrillions, quadrillion people saw you say.
Quadrillions.
Yeah.
I will say now that I was talking before how if Tyler won, I think he's easily best player of all time. At this point, I think he's going to be number 2 if he doesn't win. I think the fact that he was so willing to quit,
they both stay after saying that,
and like essentially how he handles this entire situation.
Screwed up. Like, he screwed up by not
I do think gives me less confidence in him
and this is the problem with trying to attach this extra
multiple seasons in terms of his motivation to actually play the game.
Again, to be clear, because this gets a little jumbled here, I fully believe that in that moment, Tyler was being genuine about his
100%.
desire to quit. I think that he also felt in that moment that it was an opportunity to also support Bay and Day. I think he was genuine in his desire to support them, but that was not the primary reason for him wanting to quit, and he was acting like it was. And so when his primary motivation for wanting to quit gets talked down by Alison Grodner and Christmas, that secondary motivation should still be, like, if that was the real motivation, then the other stuff wouldn't have changed his mind. But because he brought that other stuff up and it wasn't the real motivation, now that's going
that's another thing. We did get the official
really bad. And that's
reveal.
He shouldn't have ever brought it into it in the first place.
And I feel like I want to make
That,
very clear that this is an assumption. In my heart of hearts, I feel like his alliance...
Oh, really? I didn't know that, actually. Interesting. So I guess the episode yesterday from A&W was the one that Drew was on. And that's why there was no power tower, and that's why That's interesting. I didn't actually know that.
That Tyler would align himself with, especially not semi-publicly, because there's people that clearly know that Tyler and David are working together. Working together, I put that in quotes.
Yeah, so I guess that obviously makes sense.
I don't know, like, I'm very proud of David for keeping his mouth shut about this power. But besides that, David is not the greatest.
Yeah, so I guess Drew made it to Power Tower and actually won the Power Tower.
He's subpar, below average as a player. And Tyler knows that and sees that. And he's not, that's not the type of player that he would align himself with. So I don't know if this is game or if he's just like, well, let me be the savior of the POC group in the house because it's 2020 and there's coronavirus and Black Lives Matter going on, and I need to make sure that, you know, if I don't win, because there's legends in here with me, that I, you know, can be known for something, or I don't know what the motivation is. I've always been a Tyler fan, but I don't think this is a good look whatsoever.
Yes, I completely agree with that. It's just again, you know, he should never have. You should not invoke, you know, a support of the cause to say that you are supporting other people like Day and Bay because that matters to you. If it's not the main thing, if it's not the real part of that, right? So, and then on top of that, like his behavior afterwards is he is not. Again, because I think that he was genuine in that moment, but then afterwards, when he is essentially allowing it to be taken back, he is not going back to them and explaining and apologizing and or anything like that. He is fully back in game mode, and he's essentially stonewalling them again. Christmas telling him, "Don't tell them anything." Tyler is going to go to Bailey. And she's asking him for advice on like what she should do with her speech, and he's giving her like, well, I wouldn't name me specifically, and you know, like you shouldn't be doing this stuff, like this is what you should say, because he's saying that, oh yeah, Christmas didn't tell me, I don't know what she's going to do, and this is when he talks about like the rules of like not allowing, you know, not being allowed to say that you want to be evicted. Like,
so how far are they gonna go to cut Drew out of the season?
Again, I fully believe.
It's like how well did he do?
Chastised, that he was threatened, that like, no, you'd better not do this. I fully believe the production. Like, ask Eric Stein, you know, what it's like to try and go against production's wishes on a technicality. They will get you. So I fully believe that he was berated into, again, not wanting to quit. But he is not doing any kind of you know, again, for somebody that brought up that he really wanted to support their cause, he has fully forgotten that part of it. And he is now acting like it was just a quit. He never mentioned that, and he has no responsibility to sort of like have any kind of, you know, apology or anything like that. He hasn't apologized in the right way, I should say.
Right. Yeah, and this goes, you know, back to what we were saying, that like, if that was your true intent, then when you realize that she didn't want you out and that she wouldn't put you up, like, you would have done what you needed to do to get somebody on the block. Even if in the end, Bailey still goes home.
Can they stop fucking doing that? Why is he fucking...
who could be a good ally for you, because after this week, she doesn't know what she's gonna do, which we'll talk about later, but you could have done something to get somebody else on that block.
Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because this is still relevant. I do want to say that that Tyler has a conversation with David a little bit later where he explains his side of the story, I guess. And I don't know how much of this is true because he's talking to another player in the game at this point and stuff. But Tyler tells the story to David. He says that he felt guilty, that it might have been his fault that Bay and Day were on the block because he told them, he warned them that Danny was coming for them as a kind of way of self-sabotaging. Like, they're probably going to betray me and out me, and then I'll be in trouble and I'll get sent home. And if it works, then great. And if it doesn't, then I'll be sent home. And he felt like because he gave them the heads up that Danny, they acted differently around Danny, and then Danny found out, and that's why Danny came for them, and that's why Christmas is coming for them. And so in a way, this is all his fault and his version of self-sabotaging. And this is something that, like, you know, people who are very down on themselves can often sort of get in this perspective of, like, everything is their fault, everything is, like, on them, everything is, you know, in their own world. So because of that, he felt like, okay, this is, you know, I'm gonna quit the game. I didn't want to be here at all. I've been self-sabotaging. I'm gonna fix my own mistake. I'm gonna fix my own error in the damage that I caused. I'm gonna fix it by leaving and letting Bay stay in the game. Then he went to Christmas, and Christmas told him, hold on, why are you sacrificing your game for Bailey? It is not your fault that she's being targeted. We've been targeting her for a long time, Nicole and Danny and I. Second, she threw you under the bus this week unprompted. Third, this is something that she hadn't told him yet, Kaser let me know that he was talking to Bailey last week before any of this happened, and she was telling him that she was down to put you on the block and backdoor Cody, and that, like, that's what was going down. And so Tyler says to David, like, I found out that she had betrayed me. I thought that I gave her that information and she didn't go anywhere with it and that she wasn't coming for me, and come to find out that she had been talking about putting me on the block last week and she threw me under the bus this week. And so because of that, I think in his mind, he is now sort of like, I no longer hold a responsibility to you know, apologize to her for this, because I thought that I thought this was my fault and it wasn't. I thought that Bay was loyal to me and she wasn't, and so I think he's like, okay, hands off, and that would be Tyler's perspective according to what he says to David, which again, that's David. That's what he's saying to David, which, again, he's back in the game and has a reason to lie at this point. But if I'm going to guess, when Tyler comes out of the house, if I'm going to guess what his story is, I'm going to guess that it's exactly what I just said.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that not anything, but for the majority of things that Tyler tells David is pretty much true. I do feel like that Tyler knows that David.
Also, Jody beat Drew on the Power Tower too. That's
interesting. And still want to get him further into the game. So when I was watching that conversation, I was totally. It didn't cross my mind that he was lying at all. Like, I totally believe that entire conversation.
Yes. Rob says, I'm going to guess Tyler's not going to say anything about this ever. That's very likely as well, Rob. But if we're trying to, like, figure out where Tyler's motive, I do believe that Christmas probably said something to him that made him feel betrayed by Bailey.
Amazon is selling PS5 wall mounts that are set to be released November 19th.
And being like, okay, well, reneging on the offer, and I don't owe you anything at this point. that would be
which is a Thursday. Seems off. 19th seems weird.
I think that's.
But we did also. Oh yeah, I forgot if I talked about this. Xbox Series S got leaked last night, which I think I talked about in the Hitman video. But it got confirmed overnight though. Like Microsoft officially announced it. $299 for the digital only console.
So Tyler
I'm not gonna buy it, but
that's
pretty good price. I think they're doing a pretty good job there. Obviously, with the digital console, the main appeal to it is Xbox Game Pass. At that point,
and he apologizes for what went down. That he was trying to essentially get himself evicted, and he would love to reset.
I mean, I think overall that's a pretty good deal. I'm not gonna buy it.
It felt very stilted, and there wasn't much information exchanged.
I mean, to be honest, though, I'm like,
the feeds cut for the veto ceremony. I don't know how much longer it went on from this point.
But like
they
not
did have
as my
a
main
conversation,
console.
and
Like
later
I'll buy
in the day,
PS5.
Danny is
I think if I
talking
were
to
to get
Nicole,
Xbox One,
and she does seem a little bit chill on the let's target Tyler immediately situation. It seemed like she was saying, we don't need to go after him quite yet.
Right. Something I did notice about this conversation.
The appeal would be the Game Pass.
Is that Danny?
To a degree, I mean, that and the backwards compatibility, which I
really
mean, I guess you don't have on there because like you would need the disk drive.
She approached the situation as if they had
Backwards
never had it.
So I don't know.
Which I think is smart to do in the Big Brother house is when you start the conversation off as we don't have any problems. Like this, let's just talk about us. Let me tell you how much I like you, how much I respect you, how much I'm not coming after you, and let's not talk about any past things that have happened before. And it seemed like Tyler was very receptive to that. You've seen people come and be like, hey, I want to talk to you about this situation. Or I want to talk to you about this specific beef. And I think in the Big Brother house, when you're confined with these people for so long, and all that's there to do is to fester in your beef with people, I think that it's a good and a smart move when you approach someone to talk to them in a private conversation and just be very chill about it and let the, whatever the situation is, come up, naturally in the conversation. And when people tend to do that, then it tends to be a more civil conversation and doesn't lead to an argument. So props to Danny for doing that.
Mm-hmm. So
game.
Feeds go down for the veto ceremony. Christmas chooses not to use the power of veto. After the ceremony, the feeds come back. Christmas is talking to Devon. She says, look, I just can't trust that Bay is not going to come for me. It just is not my responsibility to get Tyler out of here. If she wants Tyler gone, she can do it herself. That is the explanation here.
I think
Bay talks to David, and she tells him, I would rather look gullible than angry, which is, I think, true and sad at the same time.
Yeah.
She explains also that Tyler is the reason that all of this happened, that he has been trying to get her out for a while now. He admitted to it. Again, this is the misunderstanding that happened that I was referring to earlier.
Next episode.
That she feels like he admitted to trying to get her out of the game for weeks now, that it was his fault.